Man, that card was good. UFC 300 definitely lived up to the expectations. The fights delivered, the fighters delivered. There was a bit of everything. There were great submissions, knockout of the year contenders, fight of the year contenders that were great, grappling fights, great, striking fights. There was brawling, there was more technical fights. There was a bit of everything. Pretty much every single fight on this card delivered, and this is just one of, if not the best cards of all time. I don't know. I can't think off of the top of my head of one that's better. But let's start with that main event. Alex Pereira knocks out Jamahal Hill in the first round with that left hook. Now, I did make a separate video on this, so go watch that for a more in-depth breakdown after you watch this video, of course. And it was so easy for Alex. One of the easiest fights of his entire career. Jamahal Hill really didn't get much offense off. He landed one good right hook over the shoulder of Alex, and that was it. He did also land a few outside leg kicks, but Alex was checking a lot of them, and the ones that he didn't check, it's not like they were doing a ton of damage. And I thought Jamahal Hill was going to be a tough fight for Alex. A lot of what Hill does should give Alex problems, like the fact he's a southpaw, which takes away that outside leg kick from the power leg of Alex, and it makes his left hook harder to land. But nope, it was easy for him. He came out, put Jamahal Hill on the back foot, was landing lead leg, outside leg kicks at will. Jamahal Hill didn't check a single one, was landing good body jabs, and then defended pretty much everything Jamahal Hill threw back at him. He was checking a lot of the leg kicks. He was slipping and parrying Jamahal Hill's punches. I mean, that left cross from Jamahal Hill, which in my opinion is his best punch, didn't even get close to landing. Alex was pulling away from it. He was slipping it. He was also doing a good job parrying Jamahal Hill's punches. His striking defense just looked on point in this fight, and the way he waved Herb Dean off after the low blow and then knocked Jamahal Hill out right after was crazy. People are going to be talking about that for a long time. And the way Alex throws his left hook is very weird. He throws it with his elbow almost in tight. He doesn't flare out his elbow, which makes it very hard to see. And if you just look at a still frame of him landing his left hook, it looks like an uppercut, but it comes across. It's weird, but he generates so much power with it. I mean, it's the punch that puts everyone down. It put Jamahal Hill down, put Jiří down, put Izzy down twice, put Sean Strickland down with it as well. The only two guys in MMA who were able to take that left hook was Bruno Silva and Jan Blachowicz. But a great performance from Alex, arguably the best performance of his entire MMA career, which is insane because Jamahal Hill is such a tough fighter, and he made quick work of him. And then in his post-fight interview, he said he wants a fight at heavyweight at UFC 301. Don't think that'll happen. I did hear Dana say in the post-fight press conference that Alex broke his toe or his foot, something like that, so he definitely won't be ready for 301. Plus, that's a bit of a short turnaround, and I don't think he deserves a fight at heavyweight just yet. I think they should do Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades. So the guy that makes the most sense is easily Magomed Ankalaev. He's the #1 contender. He's the guy who should be fighting for the title next, and that's a really tough fight for Alex. Probably his toughest fight in the entire division because Ankalaev is, in my opinion, the best wrestler in the entire division. Should be able to take Alex down at will, but sometimes he entertains the striking too much, like against Johnny Walker or against Jan Blachowicz. And if he entertains the striking against Alex Pereira, he could get put out cold. Alex is not the guy you want to test your striking against. As for Jamahal Hill, I think he should fight Jiří Procházka next. I was really excited for that fight a few months ago. I was really bummed out when Jamahal Hill got hurt and we found out it wasn't going to happen. But now it's the perfect time to put that fight together, and it's one of the best fights you can put on, if not the best fight you can put on in all of the light heavyweight division. And then we go to our co-main event. Zhang Weili defeats Yan Xiaonan by a unanimous decision. It was a tough fight for Weili. She had her in real trouble a few times. She dropped Zhang Weili, which is crazy. Weili was actually struggling with the striking a little bit in this fight, especially in boxing range, but once she got this fight to the ground, she was definitely the superior wrestler and the superior grappler to Xiaonan, which we knew going into this fight. Xiaonan has struggled with the grappling before, like against Carla Esparza, and Xiaonan got put in a few submissions, including that choke at the end of the first round, which put her to sleep, actually. The fight probably should have been stopped right there. The first round ended, and Xiaonan looked like she was out. She got up, she was clearly disoriented, but somehow was able to recover and came out in the second round. She is extremely tough. But that wasn't the only time I think this fight should have been stopped. There was, I think in the second round, Weili was just raining ground and pound down on Xiaonan, like 15 to 20 unanswered shots, and Xiaonan somehow survived, came back, and then started doing good in the stand-up. Weili did have her moment. She was landing good kicks. I think she landed a good elbow. She was clearly the faster, more technical striker, but Xiaonan's power just seemed to be bugging her a little at times. But in the end, Weili was able to win this fight mainly through her grappling and wrestling, which has improved so much over the past few years. I mean, she submitted Carla Esparza, who had never been submitted before, and was one of the best wrestlers, if not the best wrestler, in the entire division. So good performance from both of them. Xiaonan proves she can hang with the top contenders in the division, but what's next for Weili? It should be Tatiana Suarez, and that fight is very interesting. And then we go to Max Holloway knocking out Justin Gaethje cold with like 1 second to go in the 5th round. Now I am going to make a video on this fight and go more in depth, so subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss that video. It'll be out probably tomorrow. But where did Max's power come from? I always thought Max had underrated power, but man, it is a lot better than I thought. I mean, he's knocked out the Korean Zombie and Justin Gaethje, 2 walk-off, 1-punch knockouts back to back, and he just outboxed Justin. It was crazy. This is probably the best version of Max I have ever seen, and he's taken a more patient approach recently. You look at his last few fights, he's fought a lot more patient and technical. He's not as reckless as he was in like the Brian Ortega fight or the Calvin Kattar fight. His defense is looking better than ever. His offense is looking better than ever. The way he was just outboxing Justin Gaethje was crazy. Max was so much faster than Justin Gaethje. His jab was on point. He was countering a lot of what Gaethje did with his jab. His right cross to the body, which I'll touch up more on later, was very good. He was landing good combinations in the pocket, and he was timing that spinning back kick so beautifully. Every time Justin would cover up and dip his head, Max would time it with a spinning back kick, which is something we've never really seen from Max. That's not something he uses too much, but he used it very well in this fight, and the first one he landed at the end of the 1st round broke Justin's nose, which definitely played a huge factor in this fight, and definitely played a factor in why Justin was starting to gas out in the later rounds, and Justin was having a hard time landing on Max. The leg kicks were still there, but they were hard to land because Max was moving around, but when he did land, they were definitely landing hard. Max was not doing a good job checking them, but I don't know what it is. Max just takes leg kicks very well. Took him very well against Volkanovski, took him very well against Justin Gaethje here, and Gaethje was also having a hard time landing his punches. Max was so fast, he was moving in and out of range so quick that Gaethje was having a hard time landing on him, and Max's defense looked better than ever. Max has always had pretty suspect striking defense. He definitely has defense, but he liked to over-rely on his chin. His chin was his defense at times, but here his defense looked a lot better. He was avoiding a lot of Justin's shots. He did get dropped though. Justin did become the first guy to drop Max, but for some reason they didn't count it as a knockdown. I don't know why. That should definitely be a knockdown, and that shows just how hard Justin Gaethje hits and just how impressive this performance was from Max. And then at the end of the fight, there's 10 seconds left in the 5th round. Max is up. He's winning the fight 4-1 in my opinion, or 3-1 up until that point, and he points to the center of the cage and says, "I'm gonna stand here and trade with you." He did the exact same thing against Jeremy Stephens back in the day, and he stood there in the pocket with Justin, who is one of the hardest hitting guys in that lightweight division. While he was already up, it was an unnecessary risk. He didn't have to do that. He could have just moved around the cage and won a decision, but nope, he stood there in the pocket with a power puncher, traded with him, and then landed that big overhand that put Justin out cold. What a performance from Max Holloway. It's the best I've ever seen him look, to be honest. And after the fight, he called out Ilia Topuria, who was sitting right there ringside, and I am so much more excited for that fight now after seeing Max perform like that. That is going to be a crazy fight. Volkanovski. Sorry, Volk. Love you. Sit out. Wait a year, please. Let your brain heal. Come back early next year. I want to see Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria next. That is an amazing fight. It's a competitive fight. How do the boxing exchanges fare between these two? These are two of the best boxers in the UFC. Will Ilia attempt takedowns? Can Max defend the takedowns? It's such an interesting fight. I'm so excited for it. I hope that's next. That should be next for Max. And then when he does come back up to lightweight, I'm not sure he deserves a title shot just yet, but one more win and he definitely would. Maybe he fights the loser of Islam Dustin Poirier. Maybe you do him versus Gamrot. I think he needs one more fight and then he can get that lightweight title shot. As for Justin Gaethje, he should take some time off, but when he does come back, I think Gamrot makes a lot of sense. Maybe Charles Oliveira makes some sense. And then we go to Arman Tsarukyan defeating Charles Oliveira by a split decision. I thought it was the right decision. I had it 2-1 to Arman. The first round went to Charles Oliveira. The second round definitely went to Arman. The third round was close. I leaned with Arman because he did more damage on the feet. He also did get some good positions on the ground. Control time isn't scored, but transitioning into dominant positions is scored in effective grappling. A lot of people don't know that, but Charles did have that choke at the end of the round, so very close. I leaned with Arman. Not mad if he scored it for Charles. Very close fight. And let's talk about that choke. So at the end of the third round, Charles was trying to get that Darce. Now, it was a very weird angle to try and get a Darce from. It's very hard to finish a Darce from that position, but it did look like Arman went limp for a minute. I thought he was out. I thought Arman did go out from that. that because he like dropped his whole body, his arm sort of went limp. But when the ref went to check to see if he was out, he put a thumbs up, said he was okay, and got up right after, and it didn't look like he was wobbling or disoriented or anything, so I don't know. And that wasn't the only submission Charles went for. He pulled that guillotine in the first round, which was way closer. It's so hard to get guillotines at this level, but it was very tight. But Arman did win this fight basically through his wrestling. He was using good top control against Charles. Arman's always had good top control, was landing good ground and pound shots, was staying in Charles's guard, and Charles wasn't making it easy for him, but Charles showed no urgency to get up. He wasn't trying to force scrambles or anything. I think he's too confident off his back, which he's never going to beat Arman off his back. He's not. Arman's too good on top. He was neutralizing a lot of what Charles did, and even on the feet, Charles just wasn't really letting his hands go that much. He only landed 19 significant strikes throughout the entire 3 rounds, and there were definitely openings. Arman was throwing these big shots that Charles could counter with a jab or that right cross. He has a very good jab, a very good right straight, but he wasn't really throwing much. And he was also allowing Arman to pressure him for a large majority of this fight, and Charles does his best work when he's pushing his opponents on the back foot. But overall, it was a good performance from Arman. As for what's next for both of these guys, for Arman, obviously he gets the title shot, gets the winner of Islam versus Dustin, most likely Islam. And if it's Islam, I think he probably loses to Islam. I think Islam's better pretty much everywhere, definitely a better striker, could defend Arman's takedowns if he goes that route and outstrike him on the feet. I could also see Islam taking him down and controlling him, so I would favor Islam, but Arman didn't make it easy in their first fight, and Arman has very good takedown defense, and he's not bad on the feet either, so I think he'll make it tough for Islam, but I would favor Islam. As for Charles, I think he should fight Gamrot next. I think that fight makes the most sense. And then we go to Bo Nickal defeating Cody Brundage by a second round submission. Brundage definitely put up more resistance than all of Bo Nickal's past opponents. He defended a few of the takedowns, threw Bo Nickal off of him at one point, did okay on the feet, but once this fight got to the ground, Cody Brundage was pretty much out of it. Bo Nickal was clearly the better grappler between the two. Brundage has never been a great grappler. He's been a good wrestler. He wrestled D2, I believe, or D3, but his grappling has never been great, and Bo Nickal exposed that. Got him down in the first round, was able to control him, tried to get his back, but Brundage did do a decent job defending the back take, and then did a good job controlling the choke arm of Bo Nickal, and then in the second round, Bo Nickal was able to get him down and did get the submission. So decent performance from Bo Nickal, I guess. And then we go to one of the best fights on the entire card, Jiří Procházka defeating Aleksandar Rakić by a second round knockout, and Rakić was looking very good. He was landing very good leg kicks against Jiří, and we know Jiří struggles with the leg kicks. He just doesn't defend them. His stance is very susceptible to them, the way he stands like a boxer with all that weight on his lead leg. We saw Alex Pereira use the leg kicks very effectively against Jiří, and Rakić has very good leg kicks of his own. Look at how he used them against Anthony Smith, and he was using them very well here, and they were hurting Jiří. I mean, Jiří didn't check a single one of them, and it really affected his movement. He was trying to hide it, but you could just tell he was misstepping at times. And Jiří did switch into southpaw, which does take away that kick from Rakić, but Jiří didn't want to fight out of southpaw. He's very good. He can fight very well out of southpaw, but he was looking for that right straight. That's his best punch. That's the punch he wanted to land on Rakić. So he didn't stay in southpaw too long, but every time he would switch into southpaw, he'd look immediately for that head kick and then switch back into orthodox, and Rakić would go straight back to targeting the leg. Rakić was also using very good jabs and crosses here. The 1-2 was his best combination, and the way Jiří stands with his hands low at his hips and his chin up and forward, he keeps his chin straight up in the air and his head almost in line with his lead foot, which is perfect for that jab and cross of Rakić, and he was landing that jab very well. Jiří does have good head movement. He was able to escape a lot of them, but he didn't escape all of them, and Rakić was constantly landing right crosses as well that were really hurting Jiří. Jiří has an amazing chin though. Some of those right hands he was taking would have put pretty much everyone else down, and the way he would time his shots as Jiří moved into range, he would counter the head kicks with a 1-2, he would counter Jiří's punches with the 1-2, and he was landing pretty much at will and pretty much just shut down anything Jiří was trying, especially in that first round. Jiří landed like one good shot at the end of the first round, but didn't get much off. And then in the second round, Jiří finally caught him clean. He caught him with a 1-2, landed straight on the chin of Rakić, really hurt him, backed Rakić up against the fence, landed a good knee. Rakić fell down and then finished him with ground and pound. All it took is one clean shot from Jiří to change this fight. Jiří has so much power, and Rakić coming off a 2-year layoff probably didn't help as well. So it was a good performance from both guys. Rakić looked really good up until the end when he got caught. So what's next for both these guys? As I said, I think Jiří should fight Jamahal Hill. That is an amazing fight. It could be a co-main on a good pay-per-view card. As for Rakić, I think you do him versus Nikita Krylov next. I think that fight makes the most sense. And then we go to Aljamain Sterling defeating Calvin Kattar by a unanimous decision. Basically was able to out-wrestle him, which is really impressive because Calvin Kattar's takedown defense has looked very good in the past. Looked really good against Josh Emmett, looked really good against Dan Ige, looked good against Zabit, which is very impressive. But I don't know, Kattar just seemed kind of slow in this fight. He's very slow to react to pretty much everything Aljamain was doing. Aljo was throwing these big overhands and Kattar just didn't really see them until it was too late, which is weird because Kattar should be the better boxer between the two. He's always had good head movement, slick defense, and these big winging shots from Aljo. He's not the most technical striker. We're landing on him. Same thing with the wrestling. Aljo would shoot in and he was just so late to react on the takedowns and he really didn't defend many of them. And the way Aljo was transitioning between the striking and the wrestling, it seemed like he would use the strikes, Calvin's brain would be on, oh, he's punching me, and then when he would transition to the wrestling, Calvin's brain just didn't like switch over. It was weird. I think the fact that Kattar's coming off a 1.5 year layoff plus that leg injury he suffered definitely played a big factor in that, especially at his age. What is he, 36, 37, getting up there. But Kattar really didn't do much. He landed a total of 8 significant strikes throughout the entire fight, and Aljo was tagging him in the stand-up with these big overhands and wide hooks that typically wouldn't land on Kattar. Aljo was also using good kicks to keep Kattar out of boxing range. He was using push kicks to the knee, teeps to the body, leg kicks, which are all very effective against Kattar's more boxing style stance. And Aljo just pretty much smothered Kattar with his wrestling. He didn't give him any room to breathe. Kattar wasn't doing a good job defending the takedown. Aljo was getting him down, but he was doing a good job getting up, but he just couldn't separate. Aljo was taking him down with well-timed double legs. He was countering. Every time Kattar would like throw a jab out there, Aljo was able to duck under it, take him down, get a double leg. He'd take him down against the fence, and then Kattar would use the fence to work his way up. He just couldn't separate, and Aljo would trip him out again, get him down again. Kattar would get back up, and it would just keep repeating like that. And Aljo was just ragdolling him. It looked like Aljo was way stronger in there, which is weird because Kattar is bigger than Aljo, and Aljo just gave him no room to breathe. He was constantly on him, constantly shooting, using strikes. He was clearly the much faster fighter of the two as well. Now Kattar was doing a good job defending the back takes. He was using the whizzer very effectively against Aljo. Aljo wasn't able to get many good positions on him, but he was basically able to win this fight by smothering him and pretty much laying on him. Not the most entertaining fight, but it was a very good performance from Aljo. Something I did not expect. I did not expect him to be able to take down Calvin Kattar so easily, yet he did. As for what's next, I think Aljo should fight Yair. He could also fight Movsar or Brian Ortega, but I like putting Brian Ortega versus Movsar together and then Aljo versus Yair. That's how I would match make it. And then as for Calvin Kattar, okay, let's do him versus Diego Lopes. That would be an insane fight. And then we go to Kayla Harrison defeating Holly Holm by a second round submission, and Holly approached this in a really weird way. If you've watched any of Kayla's past fights, you would know who she struggles against the most are fast strikers on the feet who move around a lot, have good footwork, and are just better strikers than her, which is pretty much everyone. She's not that great of a striker, which Holly could have absolutely done. She's a very good boxer, very good kickboxer, has great striking just overall, has very good footwork, much faster on the feet. She could have used a game plan similar to that, but instead she decided to grapple with Kayla Harrison, which is exactly what Harrison wanted. You look in that first round, Holly was actually the one who initiated the clinch, which is right where Kayla is her best. Kayla is her best in the clinch, obviously coming from judo, and Holly has been doing that in a lot of her past fights. Holly has been using the clinch more against her past opponents, has been using more grappling, but this is not the person you want to grapple with. I'm not sure anyone in this division can grapple with Kayla, and I think part of the reason why Holly was trying to grapple with Kayla more was because she had some success in that first round. Kayla went for a trip and Holly was able to reverse it and ended up on top, but Kayla was able to work her way up. That's another thing. Kayla was so much stronger than Holly. She's going to be so much bigger and stronger than everyone in the division, but that was very clear here. She was just able to stand up, reversed Holly against the cage, and then Holly went to try and take her down again. I don't understand. She had the body lock, could have got to the underhooks and used the underhooks to separate, but instead she went for a trip against Kayla, didn't get it. Kayla ended up on top and started punishing her with ground and pound, punishing her with elbows. And then in the second round, Kayla's able to take down Holly pretty easily, gets into mount, starts landing big ground and pound shots, causing Holly to give up her back, and then she submits her from there. And how fast she submitted her was crazy. It was like 2 seconds between Kayla locking in the choke and Holly tapping. So great performance from Kayla. She should fight for the title next against Raquel Pennington, and honestly, I think she beats her. If she just gets this fight to the ground, I mean, look at the position Silva put Raquel in, and imagine that's Kayla in those positions instead. She's not getting out. And then we go to Diego Lopes knocking out Sodiq Yusuff in the first round, only 1 minute and 30 seconds into the first round, and he made it look easy. I thought this was going to be a competitive fight, but nope. Sodiq only landed one good shot, and that was a jab, and that actually showed a weakness of Diego Lopes, which we already knew. He doesn't move his head, didn't move his head in the pocket, didn't move his head away from that jab, and that's going to be an issue as he faces better strikers up in the rankings. But man, Lopes is so powerful. He's using good leg kicks. He landed 4 or 5 good leg kicks to start the fight. Then when he got in the pocket, he just started swinging, and Sodiq Yusuff was able to block most of the shots, but Lopes was able to sneak in an uppercut that put Sodiq Yusuff down. The first big punch Diego landed put Sodiq to the canvas. That's how hard this guy hits. Somehow Sodiq Yusuff was able to survive that, got back up, and then Diego put him down again with a right uppercut, right hook combination, putting him away. What a performance from Diego Lopes. I thought this was going to be a tough fight for him. Sodiq Yusuff is very well rounded, a good grappler, good on the feet, and Diego made it look easy. I'm very excited to see where he can go. He's got so much potential, has a lot to work on, but I think he could do a lot of great things in this division. And as I said, I think him versus Calvin Kattar would be an insane fight, and it makes a lot of sense. And then we go to Renato Moicano TKOing Jalin Turner in the second round, the first knockout win of Renato Moicano's MMA career. And this was a weird one because on the feet, Jalin Turner was hurting Moicano. That first body kick he landed, I think it was a teep to the body, hurt Moicano, had Moicano clinching for dear life. And then at the end of the first round, he dropped Moicano with a straight left, was able to get the outside foot position, landed a jab, Moicano dipped to his right side, and then landed that straight left, putting Moicano down. And then Turner walks away thinking he just got the walk-off KO, which allowed Moicano to recover. And you saw him protesting, but that fight should not have been stopped. Moicano was still in it. And man, was that a mistake, because Turner could have finished that fight right there, but instead he got finished in the second round, and he put up pretty much no resistance to the takedowns. In the first round, Moicano was easily able to get him down and ended up straight in half guard and was able to control Turner from there. And now Turner was able to defend a lot of the takedowns in the first round, but it's because they weren't great shots. The first real good shot from Moicano, he was able to get him down. And then in the second round, the same thing. Moicano was easily able to take Turner down, little resistance, got straight into mount, also with no resistance. Turner actually helped Moicano get into mount by pushing him up over his legs. He had the butterfly guard, I believe, but then let go of it, allowing Moicano to get straight into mount, landed some big ground and pound shots, and the ref stepped in. Good performance from Moicano. Not so good of a performance from Jalin Turner. I expect his grappling and wrestling defense to look a lot better than that. As for what's next for both of these guys, with Moicano, he has been calling out Paddy Pimblett a lot, and I'm for it. I think he runs right through Paddy, though, but honestly, I'd like to see him versus Beneil Dariush or maybe Rafael Fiziev. I think those would be great fights. As for Jalin Turner, I think you do maybe him versus Benoit Saint-Denis or maybe RDA. Turner versus RDA could be a great fight. Next, we go to Jéssica Andrade defeating Marina Rodriguez by a split decision. I actually scored it for Marina Rodriguez. The first round definitely went to Andrade, but I thought the second and the third should have gone to Rodriguez. Not mad at the decision. Very close fight. Marina Rodriguez was landing that 1-2 pretty much all day. Andrade's striking defense has never been great. She leaves her chin right there to be hit. Where Andrade was having a lot of success was in the wrestling. Rodriguez slipped when she threw a kick in the first round. Andrade got on top and dominated on top. I don't know why she didn't go back to the wrestling. I said this in my breakdown video. Marina Rodriguez doesn't have great takedown defense, and Andrade back in the day had very good wrestling. She's not using it much anymore though, but if she did go for the takedowns and did wrestle, that's where she would have the most success, and it would have been. I don't know why she didn't go for the takedowns in the second and the third round. She didn't even attempt a takedown. The only time she got the fight to the ground was because Rodriguez slipped. Bobby Green defeated Jim Miller by a unanimous decision. Looked very good in this fight. Very fast, very sharp, very accurate. Was landing at will against Jim Miller. Early on in the first round, it was tough for him. Jim Miller was having a lot of success, but in the second and third round, Bobby Green began to take over as Jim Miller started to tire out a little, and he was just landing at will. Landed 186 significant strikes in a 3-round fight. That is insane. And he dropped Jim Miller at 1.2, despite his age and the fact he came back from that brutal knockout against Jalin Turner only 3-4 months before. Bobby Green looked very good here. Very fast. His chin looked good too, which was a big question we had. And he was so accurate with everything he threw. That flying knee he landed too was crazy. And then we go to the fight that opened the entire card. Deiveson Figueiredo defeats Cody Garbrandt by a second round submission. The fact that this opened the card just shows how great this card was. And Cody was looking very good. He pretty much shut Deiveson out in the first round. He was using very good leg kicks, was landing those leg kicks at will. Deiveson didn't check a single one of them. He was clearly the much faster fighter of the two. He's landing good combinations in the pocket as well, landed a few good left hooks, and pretty much dominated that first round, which I think surprised a lot of people. I thought Cody would do better than a lot of people were saying. A lot of people thought Deiveson was just going to run right through him. It wouldn't be close, but Cody did a lot good in this fight until the second round where he overcommitted, which allowed Deiveson to get the takedown, get in mount, and Cody's just never been a great grappler on the ground. He has good wrestling. He's an underrated wrestler, has good takedown defense, but he's not great on the ground. And Deiveson got straight into mount, started landing good ground and pound shots. And then as Cody tried to explode up from the bottom, he gave up his back. Deiveson sunk in the choke and submitted him. Good performance from Deiveson. Also a good performance from Cody. As for what's next for both of these guys, I want to see Deiveson versus Cheeto. That would be an insane fight. And then for Cody, I really want to see him versus Dominic Cruz. I would love to see a rematch between them two. Don't know what Dominic Cruz is doing. It's been like 2 years since he's fought. But if they don't do him versus Dominic Cruz, I'd like to see him versus Pedro Munoz. I think that'd be a good fight also. And that's the card, guys. It was one of the best cards in a long time, if not ever. There's not one off the top of my head that I can think of that is better than UFC 300. It definitely lived up to the expectations. And here's to another 100. That will be in what, 7-8 years? Man, it seems like a long time away, but I know it's gonna fly by really fast. But anyways, that's the end of the video. I got a lot of stuff planned. I got so many more videos coming out this week, so subscribe so you don't miss those. Turn on post notifications. Like the video if you did enjoy. Leave your opinions on this card in the comments down below. I'm very curious to see what you guys say, and I'll see you guys in the next one, which will be tomorrow.